Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joined today from Hy-Vee. It's one of two of our great dietitians that we have, not on staff, but on our great guest list. We've got Amy back to talk about coffee today. And Amy, you and I are both coffee lovers.
Yes, we are.
So that's going to make...
As you can see by my background, yes.
Yeah, I bet you it smells really good wherever you are right now. It's got to smell really good. Just like being in a coffee house, it's just that aroma is so nice. I think you always hear it too. A lot of people are like, love the smell, hate the taste. I'm like, well, you didn't have the right cup of coffee yet. And that's not where we're going with this, but what we are going with is the coffee, I think, is the one of many of those things that this year it's good, next year it's bad, then it's so-and-so, then it's beneficial. So we're going to break it down for you and hopefully not kill the caffeine buzz too much. But I'm sure there's something with moderation in this discussion. So what's the buzz on caffeine? I love this first question.
Yes, well, you kind of gave me a really nice transition into it. And, at the end of the day, like so many other things we talk about, moderation. So, coffee has some really fantastic benefits, but overconsumed, we can run into some harmful side effects. So, as long as we're drinking it in amounts that are deemed, safe, then yes, absolutely, it does have some health benefits associated with it.
So you're telling me I can't drink a pot of coffee a day?
Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too much.
Darn it. All right. Well, that's fine. Well, I'll work on that part of it. Caffeine. So a couple of areas to look at. How about caffeine consumption if you're pregnant?
Yeah, so caffeine consumption in pregnancy, the recommendation there is to limit it to less than 200 milligrams a day. So that doesn't really mean anything to most people, right? We don't know how much caffeine is actually in our coffee. If I didn't either until I looked it up. So generally an 8-ounce cup of coffee. So if we can kind of think about that, most cups people use are bigger than that. So, if we really think an 8-ounce cup of coffee has about 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay.
So, if you kind of have that, so a cup or two worth a day is considered safe. Anything above that, you start to run into some negative side effects. So yeah, definitely for women in pregnancy, we do want to limit that caffeine.
Well, and turning back kind of to too much and the health issues that come with too much coffee, and I'm seeing at least one of those on my list for drinking too much coffee. But what could it lead to for health in the negative way?
Yes, so overconsumption. So for the general public, the recommendation is up to 400 milligrams a day. So, if we're thinking back to our 8-ounce cup, that's about 3 to 5 cups a day, give or take, right? It's going to vary depending on if you're having espresso versus homebrew, but in general, that's considered a moderate amount. So if we're going in excess of that, common side effects, it can be dehydrating. It can affect blood pressure. It can make you jittery, it can make you anxious. It can interfere with sleep, especially for, people that like to consume it later in the day. Sometimes that can really start to interfere with sleep. So, those are really a lot of the common side effects that people see when they start to go over that, recommended amount of caffeine.
What about appetite and caffeine? Because I've heard this two ways, that some people say it causes you to be more hungry. Some say, oh, no, this is going to cut down on you being hungry at all.
Yes, so I dug into the research on that. I was really trying to find a definite answer because you do see it a lot promoted on the internet a lot. Caffeine's an appetite suppressant. You see people selling products related to that. When I was looking into the research, I really didn't find any strong evidence showing that caffeine suppresses appetite. So when we're looking at it from an evidence perspective, there's not really anything really strongly supporting that. There has been research done into it. I would imagine that's an area that will continue to be studied, and everybody's a little bit different. So it may affect somebody where it kind of cuts their appetite a little bit, but from an evidence perspective, there's not a strong case for it.
Yeah, it didn't work for me, so I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. That's definitely not working on this end, but that's
Your study
okay.
of one that, yeah.
Yeah, I am a study of one, and a tough one at that. All right, well, we've talked about some of the negative effects. Let's talk about some of the positive effects. Moderation, of course, but coffee's got some things that are good for you.
Yeah, so coffee has antioxidants, and it also has what are called polyphenols. If you've ever had any of those terms, they kind of get tossed around a lot, especially in the media. But those phenols in coffee are really the things that are providing those health benefits. You find similar substances in fruits and vegetables. That you're finding in coffee. So, some things that have been associated are lower risk for developing type 2 diabetes, lower risk for developing Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. They've also seen an association with a lower risk of colon and liver cancers. So, we do see some definite benefits again with consuming coffee at that recommended moderate amount.
All right. Well, you've got some coffee tips here if you're going to keep it healthy. And this first one, I laugh because I think every morning I've ignored this. But start your day with water first, then some coffee.
Yeah, and that's just kind of a good practice. Most people aren't great at drinking water. So if you can get water in, which is a very hydrating beverage first before you start drinking coffee, it's just kind of a good habit to get into.
Remember that the benefits of coffee are associated with the moderate intake. So you gotta cut back.
Yeah, and I think too sometimes, we just get in a habit where it's like, okay, I'm feeling kind of sluggish. I'm just going to reach for caffeine. There may be another way to address that. You might be dehydrated. So maybe drinking some more water might help. You may just need to get up and move a little bit. Maybe you're not sleeping well, and that's kind of causing that. So I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes, we're just kind of tired, low energy, especially in the afternoon. It's so easy to reach for a caffeinated beverage. So really kind of thinking, is that really what's going to help? Or do I have something where I can find a different solution for it? So it's not always just reaching for the caffeine.
Yeah, it's hard not to when you're like, oh, that cup of coffee sounds
Mhm.
really good, but you could, as said, look for other alternatives, if you will, and if not, just look for water. I mean, water is always going to be the better choice, I think. Comparing this next one too, another good one. Coffee is not breakfast. Are you sure, Amy? Now,
Yes.
I don't. I might have to challenge you on this one.
I have this conversation with so many people that will only have coffee in the morning. We do get energy from food as well. So
Leave it
good
at
to
that.
yes. So good to start the day with just, a nice balanced breakfast. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. It can be as simple as just grabbing a protein bar. But yeah, just making sure that you're also getting energy from food and not just relying on that caffeine.
Well, this next one, I mean, a lot of people add stuff to their coffee, like sugar, so that's got to be good, right?
In moderation.
I don't think you get a lot of dietitians saying, moderate your moderated sugar levels already,
Right, right,
something to
right,
that
right.
effect.
Yes. I mean, if you're adding a little bit, it's not, it's really not going to have that much of an impact. But I think, when you really see what can be added, I mean, if you go to any coffee shop and kind of see some of the things on the menu, you know that there's quite a bit of sugar going into that drink. So, just always keeping that in mind that you don't want your coffee to just be a vehicle for a lot of added sugar in your day. So, is there something else, maybe doing some milk and just a teaspoon of sugar instead of, maybe if you're now getting something with like 5 shots of syrup, could you cut back to 3 shots? So um, yeah, I think it's worth taking a look at what's going into the coffee and reevaluating if that's really helping you or if you can tweak it a little bit.
Well, and I think as we talk about caffeine, and we could spend a whole nother segment, there's been so many variations now to get people off coffee, but they've turned other caffeinated drink, even straight up water with caffeine in it. And
Mhm.
and so, just because you're not drinking the coffee piece of it, you still could use these same tips for other caffeinated drinks. So don't trade one for the other necessarily either, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's such a good point. And that's something I have started pointing out to people in the aisles is, make sure you know what you're buying, because a lot of these, a lot of these drinks sometimes have caffeine and you really just have no idea. And for people especially that are more sensitive to caffeine, so it's kind of genetically predisposed if we're sensitive to caffeine. Some people
Hmm.
metabolize it faster than others. If you're someone that's sensitive to caffeine and you're drinking something thinking it doesn't have caffeine, that could cause you some issues. It could make you anxious. It could disrupt sleep. It could be giving you those side effects that you're not wanting, and then maybe not aware that that's where it's coming from. So yeah, definitely a good idea to just, take a closer look and make sure you know what you're getting when you're buying something like that.
Well, in that same realm of things, if people are interested in learning more about discussions about coffee or moderation, maybe I think it's probably a pretty good topic that we could take on in the future. Amy, you've got a lot of great resources at the website, and certainly Hy-Vee's got dietitians in their stores to help you out with these questions.
Yes. So the best way to get to us, if you go to Hy-Vee.com/health, and there is a Hy-Vee Dietitian page. You can check out some of the services that we have to offer. You can get connected with a dietitian, and just go from there. So yeah, we're definitely here to help.
All right, Amy, thank you so much. You told me it wasn't going to be too bad. Appreciate the help, and you enjoy your next cup of coffee on me, okay?
Sounds great. Same to you.